Okay, we can be free. We've got to wean ourselves off the junk, man. And the only way to do that is through sound economic policies. Christmas, I don't make a big deal out of Christmas, of course, because I'm always preaching about Christ. But I know there's some people that say, "Oh, it's a pagan holiday." A lot of Christians will say it's a pagan holiday, and it was invented in the sun god, like the sun in the sky god, that the Romans were actually celebrating. So that's why they don't celebrate it. But to me, it just look. It exalts the Christ child, and that can't be good. Jesus said, "Look, whoever is not against us is for us." So it's a good thing. There's nothing to resent anybody for celebrating Christmas. There's nothing to that. I don't. I'm not big on it. I'm not out sending a lot of Christmas cards out and giving a lot of gifts typically. But you know what? I mean, I like it. And if I was very financially well heeled, I would love to give generous gifts to everybody I know. I'd give generous gifts to the people I work for. I'd pay them back for all that they've given me over the years, right? I mean, why not? If you have it, give it. I mean, to me, my favorite thing I've ever done with money is spend it. I mean, what good is it just sitting there with money? That's so much of the money in the world today. The wealth exists, but it's sitting there. It's dead. Even Bitcoin, if it's just sitting there as an investment, it's dead. It's not doing anybody any good. Any investments that just sit there and just make those that are watching over wealth, what do they call them? The wealth protectors, or they're in the wealth. It's financial services industry, basically wealth management. This kind of stuff. I mean, all these jobs should be rendered irrelevant. They're not really doing anything productive and useful for society. The fact that you can comfortably afford to pay your bills doesn't help the guy that's having a really hard time. In fact, it just makes it harder for him. You see. So you capitulate. You say, well, I understand inflation. I understand the cost of living goes up. So I keep capitulating, and I'm able to make more income, and I still keep getting ahead. My numbers look good. So it's evil, stinking thinking, So, boy, oh boy. I'm thinking about all this talk about sexism in our society now. We're getting into this neo discussion here about all these boorish men out there, And, I don't defend any of them. I know I've probably behaved mildly boorish, probably. And, I'm glad that so far I haven't pissed off women enough, any woman, to come out and slander my name or what do they say? There's nothing as bad as a woman scorn and sort of thing. So, you got to kind of watch your step. Women are, to me, the more dominant of the species. How things appear, of the genders, rather, are not really the way they are. So the woman, we all know that the mother cub is to be feared much more than the father cub who is out there, foraging or, finding some other female bear to have relations with. Okay, it's the female of the species that is actually running the show, and it doesn't really matter. I'm not blaming females for the show being messed up, because both men and women have our issues. It comes from the original sin. But I want to point out that this double standard, we've got to say, what about all this? We're not having discussions about prostitution and how we kind of just in tongue in cheek, well, we accept it's always been here, it's the world's oldest profession and all this. And well, it's okay if, it's in a state that allows it, or in a city or county that allows it, and, wink and a nod, and, as long as I make a few bucks, and as long as they vote for me, or whatever. I mean, to me, this escort, whether it's male or female, because men do these things too. We got male strippers out there that for a few bucks, they'll dance around naked in a room full of women, have sex with themselves or have sex with others, and the women can ooh and all over this stuff. So we know it's all going on. I mean, it isn't only men that can act boorishly, but women can act equally as boorishly. Believe me. There's plenty of evidence to that fact, and I see it on TV. And you look at a sitcom. Take this Big Bang Theory. I watch this show sometimes, and I know there's one episode where Leonard's mother, if anybody's familiar with the show, they know Leonard is one of the main characters. His mother, I like her, she's a very good actress, but she's in town, and her and Penny, of course, Penny ended up marrying Leonard, but she starts being inquisitive. She's inquiring about how Leonard's genitals, his penis, came out. I mean, you got to blame the writers. I don't blame the actors and actresses, but the writers. You Chuck Lorre out there, coming up with this crap, or whoever else writes these lines. They say, wait a minute, what if these roles were reversed? What if it was men? Like it was happening in a restaurant, and Leonard's mother was asking Penny, well, I wonder how that busboy's genitals look, or something to that effect, or his penis or something. Make some reference to this. And everybody, of course, they run their laugh track. This is all very funny, isn't it? Right? But to me, that's a double standard, because if the roles were reversed and that was men talking that way about a woman's vagina, I think it would be met with a whole hell of a lot of consternation and outcry by the feminist community out there, right? They wouldn't like the roles to be reversed. So men are accepting this. They're kind of conditioning men to accept this kind of cucking, right? And it's right out there in your face, right? So it's right there, very transparent. Yes, men are, we're the lesser beings, and, I had sex with her because she let me, and, any woman that lets me have sex with her, I'll have sex with her. That's the creatures that we are. We're less than, right? And, the woman, of course, is worth more. She's got the Jezebel thing going on where, if a guy had to make money selling his body, he'd go flat ass broke, but she can prosper if she's got a good body and all that. So, you know what? We've got to be very introspective, circumspective, and honest about this neo-sexist kind of conversation that we're having about, who is the more boorish. And, a lot of this stuff, I love women, okay? So I don't hold, if a woman acts boorishly, I mean, men don't hold it against them. I've never heard of a woman getting in trouble for exposing herself. And men, they love women generally. I'm not saying all men, but a lot of men, like, hey, you know what? I mean, she let me see down her blouse, or and this is it's erotic and this and that. And hey, what guy doesn't get it? In all honesty, you're a heterosexual man, so women don't get in trouble for these things, but the roles are different in the natural realm. Okay, so women don't like that. Generally speaking, that's a generalization, though some women do. Some women want to see men naked. Remember that episode of Seinfeld where this conversation came up with Jerry and Elaine, and Elaine said, well, the only women that want to see that are sickos. Well, I don't know. Women are deprived too. They, in our natural state, we wouldn't be wearing clothes. So it's a huge departure that we even wear clothes at all. We're not supposed to be cognizant of the fact that we're naked or not. So this whole thing of lust and intrigue in the opposite, gender and all this is something we're sick and twisted. You see, this is the sinful state, this knowledge of good and evil, the fallen state, the shame association, knowing what's adulterous and lustful and not. We're not supposed to know any of that stuff. So I don't hold it against men. I don't hold it against women. I'm not judgmental. With the measure I judge, I too shall be judged. I'm just pointing out that there's more to this conversation, and that it can't be just one-sided, that we have to look at everybody's point of view, look at it from the guy's point of view, look at it from the woman's point of view, and we'll love each other better. I love women. I don't hold it against anybody. If they've lusted after men, fine. You know what? The men are beautiful creatures, I think. I think I'm a beautiful creature. And I think women are beautiful creatures. I think we're all beautiful. And I thank God. I praise God. When I admire a woman's beauty, I'm admiring God's creation. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't, so anyhow, like Scripture says, what is sin to one man may not be to another. Now that is a generalization too, because there's some stuff that is unequivocal. Murder is always murder, but killing is not always murder. You understand? In order to murder somebody, yes, you got to kill them too. But murder can be a state of the heart. Your heart is impure. You have bad ill will towards somebody. You're a murderer in their sight, in God's sight. Okay, so while I wouldn't sleep with any man's wife, I'm not coveting any man's wife. I don't want what belongs to somebody else. You couldn't pay me enough. You couldn't beg me enough to do such a thing. I'm a righteous dude. I'm a man's man, all that kind of thing. Nevertheless, that does stop me from being lustful at times. I mean, it's just anyhow. Enough said on the subject. I am done with that. But I hope I made the point I was trying to make that we got to look at everybody's point of view in this thing. This new discussion. Let's see, Max Kaiser's talking. We all know Bitcoin took a dive. I saw last I had looked at it was like 17,000. I don't know how much higher it got than that, but then I looked at it again recently and it was like 13,000 per Bitcoin. So somebody's taking some profits. So, hopefully nobody's getting hurt, but there are probably going to be some mad people losing a lot of money. But if you got that kind of money to invest in Bitcoin, then you got money to burn, as far as I can tell. So I don't feel too sorry for you. Max Kaiser is not down with Trump's military spending, so he thinks that's a bad thing. But I don't know how to feel about it. I think it's good that we're strong, but we should be like a gentle giant, I believe. You ever notice how the biggest guys out there are usually the gentlest, nicest, most humble guys filled with humility? I've noticed that because they're the most secure. But you see the smaller guys, a lot of them have that Napoleon complex. But it's good to be able to defend yourself so that your enemies say, nah, that's wrong guy's face to be spitting in, so, I don't know. There's another way to look at it, but I don't think we ought to be provocateurs. I don't think we ought to be starting fights. I agree with Max Kaiser if that's his attitude about it. But as far as spending, he doesn't like it because he's got to pay a lot of taxes, so he's conflicted. His conscience is conflicted about paying those taxes. I can understand that. He doesn't believe in what he's spending the money on. I think that all taxes ought to be able to earmark where you spend it. Sure, why not? I'm down for that. He doesn't like the fact that Wall Street's being pumped up and it's being attributed to Trump and his tax cuts and all this is pissing him off. Oh, I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know. The things I don't know much about, I don't talk much about. Like I don't talk much about investing, Bitcoin, Wall Street and all this. I know that my dad used to sing this song. I don't know where it came from, but to me, it always reminded me of Wall Street, the stock market and stuff. How and the banksters and the banking industry, the money printing class. How did the song go? The vaults are made of silver with a guard at every door. The banks are made of marble with a guard at every door, and the vaults are filled with silver that you and I have sweated for. Everybody's heard the song probably. I don't know where it comes from, but I remember, he was kind of anti-crony capitalist, I guess you would say. I don't think he was anti-capitalist because I remember when I was quite young, he started actually one of the first health food stores in the Santa Cruz area, Felton Health Foods, back in 1970. When all there was a few co-ops that always smelled like patchouli oil selling bulk nuts and grains and stuff like that. Because the hippie class actually started the first health food stores. But anyhow, just a little factoid there. But trying to, I like Max Kaiser. I think he's a righteous dude. I think he's got integrity. I think a lot of the economists, the ones I listen to, have integrity. I think guys like Peter Schiff do. I think guys like Harry Dent do. I think guys like Gerald Celente do. And a whole host of other guests that Alex Jones has had on his show. This is why I love his show, is because he gets these good, decent, upright people. People like Catherine Austin Fitz. And there's several others out there that Max Kaiser has entertained. These women that know a lot about, their names elude me, but, there is plenty of women, too, that are upright, decent economists that have integrity. And I like these people. And I like Max Kaiser, and I like his wife, Stacey Herbert. I think she's really smart, decent, upright woman with integrity. And makes her a very attractive woman. Max is a very lucky man. I joked with him. I left a comment that he wouldn't trade all the Bitcoin in the world for Stacey's hand, and I stand by that. She's one cute woman, Max. You lucky guy. I think I like her for her brains mostly. I find that most attractive, but she's still cute as a female, I'll tell you. So I'm sorry, Max. I would never touch your wife, so don't worry, man. Hey, not that I had a chance anyhow, but oh my God, if sometimes I feel like I'm talking stupid here. But forgive me anyhow. I like Max a lot, and I like Stacy a lot on the Kaiser Report, and even people I criticize a lot. Understand? I mean, when I talk about Alex Jones, I mean, I hate to see him getting carried away and just getting into this ranting, condemnational